You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for the Rocky Mountain Rooftop Network, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Skyler Timmons, rushing through this because it's take 3. I'm joined here again by Evan Lang, though.
Yeah, Skyler rushing through the intro because it's the third time we've had to say it due to some technical difficulties. If you remember from last week, we have changed our recording platform, and while it's been mostly painless, we're still sorting out some of the kinks.
Yeah, not the good kinds either.
Bad kinds.
Yeah. But, speaking of bad kinds...
The Rockies are the bad kinds. Fellas, if your kink is the 2025 Colorado Rockies, please seek professional help.
But, yeah, lots to talk about here today. Evan saw Superman. That's fun. We probably won't talk about it.
Superman instead of watching the final game of the first half for the Rockies. And honestly, I think I was better served by my choice of actions.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We'll round up kind of a debrief, Evan, if you will, of the first half. And what we experienced with the Rockies in this first half. And then maybe dive in a little bit more of, predictions and hopes for the second half. And then later on, we will talk about the Rockies' first-round draft pick, 4th overall, that they will be having today. It is the draft day. Front of some housekeeping at the top, Evan. We'll have our normal episode that you're hearing here on this Monday. And then the plan is, hopefully, that we can do our big draft recap episode that we did last year. That was kind of fun. Maybe it'll be live. Maybe it won't. Who knows? But you can... stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that'll probably be up, if not Tuesday, then Wednesday. Speaking of debrief, you know what they didn't do in Superman was debrief him like a lot of recent iterations have tried to do. The red briefs are there.
Yeah, I believe it was the actor himself, Dave Cornso, that said, hey, I think he should have the trunks.
And the costume looked really good. They did a really good job. Unlike the 2025 first half Colorado Rockies.
We're just going to keep having those segues throughout this one.
And talk about Superman and segue.
Mm-hmm. But, so we'll get all into that. But first, really quickly, we didn't get to it last week because the Nationals decided to throw out some news that we decided to talk about instead. But the Futures game, All-Star game, was on Saturday. Rockies did end up having 2 representatives that headed out to the game itself. Charlie Condon, our number 1 prospect, started the game at first base for Chipper Jones and the National League Future All-Stars. And then Wellington Herrera, Beef himself, went to the game as well. He was kind of a replacement that got put in this past week. Very well deserving. He's having one heck of a year on the mound down in Hartford. But awesome to just have 2 guys get recognized there. And unfortunately, Condon didn't dazzle and hit a home run like we all hoped, but still cool that both of them get recognized.
Yeah, instead it was the lousy Dodgers prospect, Jose de Paula, who hit the difference-making home run for the National League Future squad. Condon made contact in the first 2 of his at-bats. He's been making pretty good contact. And then in his third at-bat, he did strike out looking on 3 pitches, which was a little rough. But then not long after that is when Wellington Herrera came into the game. And, he didn't pitch that much. He faced basically 1 batter and got him out. Honestly, like you said, he was kind of a last-minute addition to the roster. But it was still very cool to have him join down in Atlanta for the Futures game. Wellington is going to be, I think, on a lot of prospect boards here at the midseason point. He has been excellent. On the season, across both AA Hartford and High A Spokane, he has an ERA of just 0.72. He's got a sub-1 ERA in Hartford, and this is not a small sample size at this point. He's made 17 appearances.
Dang.
And this was after he pitched a .49 ERA in Spokane. Like, he's getting the job done, and it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's good to see both of them turn out well. Condon's putting power's still not there yet. It'll come eventually, but it's good to just see him playing well down there in AA Hartford now. And Wellington Herrera, good on the mound. Nice to get some recognition there. It's nice that he started too. It's always nice, like when Chase Dolander started last year, started the game, and then we got Condon starting at first base, batting fourth. That position's
it's nice
in
to
his
get
future.
some eyes on the Rockies prospects, because the Rockies farm system right now is, I think a lot of us are realizing, not as good or as deep as we thought it was.
Yeah.
And I've talked about many times before, I've constantly said, I think the Rockies farm system is underrated. I think the national media just doesn't get it. But after this season, I'm kind of having second thoughts on that, just because this whole organization is in such a need of a drastic overhaul. But there are still excellent products in the system, and Charlie Condon and Wellington Herrera are very well-deserved delegates to that futures game.
Yeah, because it's always been so bottom heavy, and now a lot of those bottom heavy pieces are moving up, and it's just, it's starting to fizzle out the higher up you go. Like, on paper, the whole system should be way better, and you could say that of any club though. Like, on paper, any team, why do we rank them? They should all be really good and exciting, depending on the organization, but overall, it's kind of like, it's disappointing. There's plenty of potential and talent. I would say the Rockies' development system, that's more to blame than the players they have themselves. But that's a conversation for another time. But congrats to Charlie Condon, friend of the show, and Wellington Herrera for making it out to the Futures game in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Cool for him to be able to do that home, kind of a home game for him. Awesome stuff. But speaking of not awesome stuff, Lex Luthor and his plans and hatred of Superman.
I will say I liked the treatment of Lex in the new Superman movie, especially after how bad the Lex Luthor we got in the last quote-unquote main Superman movie was.
What's wrong with Jesse Eisenberg sticking Jolly Ranchers in senators' mouths and putting a jar of pee on that one lady's desk?
A lot was wrong with that.
Wait, what? And his weird little...
Man, we're going to go on another aside here. So many of those DC Expanded Universe movies were just so terrible. Like, I was going through them the other day, and it's like trying to rank which ones are the least bad. And yeah, there was a couple like solid ones up there. The first Wonder Woman, the James Gunn treatment of Suicide Squad was pretty solid. But like, just almost all of those movies are so bad.
You could say that it was really the first half of a lot of those movies coming out when they first started were pretty bad. And you know who else's first half was really bad?
The 2025 Colorado Rockies.
Hey! Yeah, so finally over, they lost to the Reds here this weekend, dropped 2 of 3. Could have easily won 3 of 3, or at least 2 of 3. Instead, they lose the series and set the Major League record for most losses heading into the All-Star break with 73. They beat the record with 72, surpassing the Chicago White Sox, who had 71 losses before the All-Star break in 2024.
So it's actually worse than that. I actually believe, is it not 74 losses that we're going into?
73 or 74? I lose track of them all.
I'm pretty sure it's 74, which is...
Oh, yeah, it is 74.
Even worse.
Ugh.
Like, it's been bad, and it feels like every week we're talking about another way that the Rockies have made some variety of dubious history in their season. be it, the first team ever to have 50 losses before 10 wins, to barely making it to 20 wins before the All-Star break, to now the most losses before an All-Star break in league history. Is it modern era, or is it overall league, including dead ball?
I do not know.
I'm pretty sure it's just modern era, because I know, so I saw somebody on Reddit did the math of the Rockies can no longer surpass the 1899 Cleveland Spiders for worst overall record, as they finished the season with just 20 wins.
But we play more games than they did, didn't we? Don't we?
We do.
So we can technically still have a worse record. Maybe not in terms of
worse
wins.
winning percentage. But that's fairly unlikely at this point, just because we've made it over the hump in terms of 20 wins. But, don't be fooled. And we've talked about this before. This is still a monumentally bad baseball team.
Yeah. People still don't have that impression after watching this first half of games. What is that? 96 games? If after watching 96 games this season, you don't think the Rockies are a bad team, please share your optimism with us. And I wish I could be as happy as you are.
Yeah.
And optimistic.
Or at least let us live in your magical little fantasy land.
Mm-hmm.
Where ice cream grows on trees and everything is free.
Indeed, but really, let's try and get through this as quickly and effectively as we can. But essentially, just your impressions from that first half. What has stuck out to you the most from this first half of the season as we head into the All-Star break?
It's been overall the lack of depth. The best way of putting it is that there's nothing that the Rockies are doing well right now.
Yeah.
The offense is DOA most days. They're getting blown out of the water more often than not. The depth has been tested and proved quite lacking. And, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to something we've said before, is that the Rockies, for claiming to be a draft and develop organization, simply are not capable of executing on that vision.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they are now, it's just not working. Where, we've had some prospects come up and do some good things. Like, overall, Yanquiel Fernandez has been a lot of fun. Ryan Ritters has been a lot of fun. But it's hard to ignore that they could probably be doing better. That so many other prospects that we thought were can't-miss guys haven't really done what they could have done. That Chase Dollander has struggled immensely. The amount of injuries we've had on the farm, the problems that we've had with Zach Veen. It's just that the Rockies aren't where they should be for a team that has been this bad for this long.
Mm-hmm.
You'd expect to have some kind of hope for the future. And right now, it's really hard to gauge how much hope to have, if any. Where can you even see the Rockies being a competitive organization 10 years from now, let alone next season?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's been a Murphy's Law of a season where everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Where star players who were supposed to build upon their strong seasons last year were supposed to, this is going to be a step forward type of year. Oh, never mind. Brent Doyle's hitting below the Mendoza line type of thing. Ryan McMahon is still striking out more than anybody in baseball.
Ezekiel Tovar has barely seen the field.
Yeah. Chris Bryant continues to have a degenerative back disease, and who knows when he's around. No, our starting pitching is okay at times, but still not good enough. It's just batting practice day after day. No, just across the board, Michael Toglia, supposed to be our big power hitting first baseman, he's striking out way more than he should. And so it's just, and the problem is too, that we've noticed, is that we shouldn't be surprised that this is the result of what's happened to this team, because it's just been every decision they have made since 2018, specifically going back that far.
Honestly.
Even, that's what I'm saying, but specifically for where we're at right now, It's just been bad decision, really after bad decision. Yeah, there's some little highlights here and there. Oh, Nolan Jones was fun for a year. Tyler Freeman's fun this year. But at the root of everything
is the Rockies.
The decisions are still the Rockies, and it's bad. And it's just really bubbled to the surface finally like it needed to. And even then, who knows if the people in charge are truly taking notice of, oh, our septic system is flowing back up and we need to call a plumber.
Yeah. And, like, we know that Dick Monfort is not happy, that he is feeling pretty humiliated right now. I think that's pretty evident by a lot of the reporting that we've gotten. And that pretty much everybody, both from inside and the outside of the organization, is screaming for change. But the problem is we can't trust that change is actually going to happen before
be meaningful.
The fact. Like, we hope that it does, but until the ball starts rolling, until things actually start to occur, we can't trust that Dick Monfort is going to make the right decisions here. That he's going to make sweeping front office changes to invest resources where they need to be invested. You just can't rely on that right now.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's too of we our expectations coming to the season. Yeah, it's hopefully a year of growth, more growth. I don't think any of us really truly expected it to be as bad as it has been this year. Like, I thought the Rockies could have at least 30 some odd wins this season. I didn't expect them to be on pace to have the worst modern era record in baseball history.
When one of our own players, who is supposed to be like the good clubhouse presence guy in Kyle Farmer, is calling the Rockies versus White Sox series the World Series for the two worst teams in baseball. Not great.
Yeah, so I think just the level of suctitude, the craptacular failure that has been the Rockies in this first half, worse than I think any of us. Nobody. I don't know how you could predict this. We knew they'd be bad. We thought they'd at least be fun and exciting with some of these younger guys.
Yeah.
But it's been the combination of injuries, of course, that's always going to hit people. But then, like you mentioned, the lack of depth behind it, rookies and prospects struggling, other veterans who were supposed to be the leaders regressing even further. It's just been one bad thing after another, and the fact that there's still 2.5 months of this left just makes you want to pull your hair out, thinking of how much worse could it be. But then it's also how worse can it get?
We closed out the 2024 season with at least a modicum of hope.
Yeah.
That, well, look at everything yes, this season was terrible. Second straight 100-loss season, but Bud Black's at the end of his contract. Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle were both great. Michael Tolia had a breakout. We're getting Herman back. We're getting the gang back together next year for the pitchers. We have a lot of promising young pitchers coming up, and just none of it has really panned out. Like, a lot of the promising young pitchers from last year have struggled. Luis Peralta isn't even on the big league roster right now, and he is having a miserable time down in AAA Albuquerque. Jaden Hill has been hurt. Antonio Senzatela has been largely terrible. Like, we thought he could at least be serviceable, but no, he's been awful. And Victor Vodnik has been up and down. Seth Halverson has been up and down. Tyler Kinley has been Tyler Kinley. And you top that all off with the fact that Chris Bryant, your $182 million man, still isn't seeing the field and will likely never see the field again. Like, let's be honest. When he's talking about going to Dallas for an experimental procedure to try and avoid a lumbar disc fusion, he's done. He will never be on a baseball field in a meaningful capacity ever again. And I think the sooner he realizes that, and the sooner the Rockies realize that, the better off he will be in terms of his mental health for figuring out his life after baseball so that he can have, meaningful physical activity with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now he can't run. He can't turn. He can't swing. He can do nothing without pain. And honestly, the best answer for that is a lumbar vertebral fusion. That's what he needs. And I know he doesn't want that because it does effectively mean his career is over. But we have been saying that now pretty much all season. It's done. And then you follow that up with Bretton Doyle being one of the least valuable players in all of baseball this year, with Ezekiel Tovar being unable to stay healthy for a myriad of different reasons, Tolia's immense regression, and it's a season where nothing has gone right, where all of the limited silver lining of 2024 is stripped straight off and revealed to be an imitation.
Yeah. A lot of that hope was, I think we can avoid losing 100 games this year. Like, there's enough of that core, and like, there's the pieces there to show even just a slight bit of improvement. Instead, it's been the complete opposite, and on pace to be one of the worst teams in baseball history.
What's funny is we thought we had a core coming out of last season. And now it's been kind of proven that we don't. And the next core is still all the way down in Hartford, where they've got a group of guys that they all want to come up together in Condon, Thomas, in
Carrig.
Sullivan, and Carrig, in Herrera. Great. But who knows when they're going to be ready, or if they will be developed properly to deliver at a big league level. Yeah,
and that's the big key with it all and everything. But, it's just frustrating. Everything's gone wrong, and it's between that and then, the highlights of, Chase Dolander's getting called up. Oh, never mind. He's having a rough go of it across the board. So
yeah, it feels like almost everyone we've called up has really struggled, or not performed in the way that we need them to perform. Like,
it's pretty middling.
Fernandez is hitting quite well, honestly, but not in the way that you expect or need Yanquiel Fernandez to hit. He's supposed to be your power bat. And when he's instead legging out infield singles because he's not lifting the ball that much, that's not what you've called upon his services to do.
Yeah. Or, it's been like a Jordan Beck who, he was supposed to do that big power hitting. Left fielder could really be the guy. Oh, it's kind of average. Everybody's just, the highly touted prospects become pretty just average players. It's all just average, and there's upside, sure, but I think it goes back to we just have no confidence that this team knows how to get the most out of players.
Yeah, guys who are at best replacement level.
Yep. Yeah.
The Rockies only have 4 players with worth one or more wins above replacement per Baseball Reference. It's Hunter Goodman leading the pack at 2, which is awesome. And then it's Jimmy Herget, Jake Bird, and Victor Vodnik. That's rough.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so it's pretty much everything has gone wrong. But really quick, we'll try to end this on a positive note. What's something that has gone right, though, Evan? Or the most positive thing or silver lining that you've noticed in this first half that can give you even just a minuscule of hope?
We have a catcher.
Do we, though?
For now.
We have a player in the position of catcher.
Except, honestly, he's been serviceable as a backstop. And that's the thing, is that if you're not going to be an incredible defender behind the plate, you need to be able to hit, and that's what Hunter Goodman is doing.
Yeah.
And Hunter Goodman's been an incredible bright spot. And then you have 2 of the offseason acquisitions in Tyler Freeman and Mickey Moniak that have really worked out well.
Yeah, they've done their part. Also, I would say just like the bullpen in general as a unit, they've been banged up a lot of times, but they've also been overworked a ton, and I think we're starting to see some of the cracks of that coming up. But it's been a pleasant surprise in some of those aspects with them.
The turnaround of Herman Marquez has also been very nice to see.
Yes, very much so. But other than that, it's like, it's a lot more that we could go into, but there's no time. But suffice it to say, stinky. It's been a stinky first half.
It's been something.
It has been something, and we've only got a 70-something, 60-something games left.
Too many.
So enjoy your All-Star break without Rockies baseball. Ugh. But, yeah. But anyway, we'll move on next now, Evan, because that's what we're going to talk about is what comes up next in the second half when we come back here on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude. Skyler and Evan here with you. And you know what? In this new age, Evan, of DC movies, could this be a better second half?
No.
Oh.
I'm going to be real. The Rockies will continue to be bad, and if all goes according to plan, they will be significantly worse starting in August. Because I think people underestimate how much worse this team will get after we sell off anything of value.
And that's probably where we can start here first. Of the first thing on the docket for the second half, after the draft, which, again, we'll talk about that. But after the draft, next big thing, next big date to circle on the calendar is the end of July, July 30th. Is it 30th or 31st? When's the deadline?
I think the 31st.
Yeah, 31st. So end of July, trade deadline. So over these next couple weeks, you would hope, and there's a big question mark hanging over hope, that the Rockies would do something, will do something, will be active at the deadline in selling off pieces. But
I think at minimum, they will do what they normally do, which is one or two pieces like Jimmy Herget or something like that, or Tyler Kinley. They'll trade a veteran reliever for some lower level prospects. But the thing is, the Rockies need to be doing so much more than that. And
yeah.
I know it is a tall order to be saying they need to basically be selling everything that's not bolted down. But that's essentially the mindset they need to take, where unless your name is Ezekiel Tovar or maybe Hunter Goodman, there's no guarantee that you're still here after the deadline.
Yeah, it's like, first and foremost, if you are not under team control beyond this season, okay, number one, that would be like a Herman Marquez, Austin Gomber, a couple other guys. No, some of them you don't have much value, like a Kyle Farmer or Tyro Estrada. People aren't really gonna. Nobody's really knocking down the door to get those guys. But those other guys that maybe have some value that can be an interesting piece, you got to be willing and open-minded to everybody. And I think it was Ken Rosenthal at The Athletic was writing an article, wrote an article about the Rockies and stuff, and it was they heard from team sources that they were more open-minded about moving some established pieces like a Ryan McMahon or some of those guys, but there's still that air of hesitance where they won't want to move guys like that. No, they're not completely open-minded. They're just more open-minded, if that makes sense.
And that's the problem, where I think a lot of it is going to boil down to the Rockies' history of overvaluing their own chips, of what they can put on the table, where Ryan McMahon, his value is at probably an all-time low right now. He's under not exactly a great contract, and he has been largely terrible this year in terms of offense. His glove has been fine. He's still one of the best defensive third basemen in the league. But until he hit that home run to start the Cincinnati series, he had gone 3 for 31 in July so far.
Yeah,
He's
and
barely hitting over the Mendoza line.
And I was looking at the numbers of like the strikeout numbers since Michael Toglia came back from AAA. I was looking at those numbers and okay, where's Toglia? Surprise, surprise! Ryan McMahon has struck out 40% of the time since Toglia got called back up to the roster in June. He's been striking out 40% of the time. So yeah, his value not going to be very high. His contract. No, all things considered, no,
it could be worse,
it could be worse than a lot of what other teams, but it's still, considering the production you're getting from him, not great.
Yeah.
Luckily, his defense carries a lot of weight there, but and the market for third baseman this season, not great. There's not a lot of guys that probably will be available.
And some of the guys are going to be worth a heck of a lot more. It's rumored by Bob Nightingale, grain of salt because Nightingale, but that the Diamondbacks are potentially going to make Eugenio Suarez available.
Yeah.
I want him over McMahon.
Yeah.
He's not as good a defender, but he's going to
mash.
Ability to hit the ball with authority.
Yeah. Which McMahon doesn't have.
He's got some home runs. He's got 13 so far this season, but
Suarez
this is a
has
guy
over 30.
Suarez has over 30. Cal Raleigh, the catcher for the Seattle Mariners, was one home run away from breaking the pre-All-Star break record set by Barry Bonds in 2001. And for the Rockies, 13 home runs, that's not going to cut it. He's not even the home run leader on the team.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of issues there, and that's going to be the hard part, too, with the Rockies. You want to get value for your guys. The problem is, in order to get value, you have to have value. And you're not going to get them. And something that I've wanted, and maybe I will turn this into an article over at Purple Row or something, Evan, is I mess around with out-of-the-park baseball on the computer. I got this year's version very recently because it was on sale over on during the Steam sale. And just for fun, I was kind of looking at you just go and you do the shop player, and then the whole system will come up with trade offers for guys. Ryan McMahon's across the board weren't very good deals. There were some decent ones in there, but there was nothing really that was blowing me out of the water. A lot of them, the deals that the offers that the computer came up with involved me putting in a bunch of money as the Rockies in the deal to try and improve it. So, there's ways to do it.
Yeah.
But the Rockies, they can't be looking for value. At this point, we're just going to take who we can get so we can get out from the contract and just move on.
Yeah. It's maybe if you all pool together, you could go and get a nice steak dinner, but right now you've got the budget of going for maybe McDonald's or Taco Bell.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. You could get something good there, but
you've got to be honest about
exactly.
What resources you have to work with. And right now, honestly, I would say Herman is probably the guy on the team with the most trade value right now, where over the last couple months he has really turned it around, been a solid rotational pitcher, and there are going to be a lot of teams that need that. He is also on a relatively team-friendly deal that is over at the end of the season, so he is a great rental candidate. You can probably get something of the most value for just Herman, but for almost everybody else, you're going to need to either put in money to get out of a contract, or you might need to sweeten the pot with some prospects, which honestly might not be so bad, because I think there's a lot of prospects in the system right now who you can say are not a part of this team's future or could do well with a change of scenery to see if they do better in another organization. And who's a prime candidate for me for that is maybe a guy like Benny Montgomery or something like that. Someone who right now, as much as I love Benny Montgomery, he's probably faded out of the plans for this team for the future due to a lot of different reasons. But if another team can see value in him and see, hey, maybe we can make him into something for our future, you've got to jump on that. You've got to jump on anything that people want. You have to be prepared to give. Yeah.
Yeah, if a team like the Yankees, who have reportedly already checked in on McMahon and shown that interest, they're calling, get something done. Do what you can. If somebody's coming, they're interested, don't... Ryan McMahon's not an MVP caliber player, so don't try to expect that type of return. And that goes for a lot of other players. Herman Marquez, he was an ace for you at one point, but he's not an ace for you now or any other team, so don't value him when you're in your asks.
You're not going to get a top 5 organizational prospect for Herman or for Ryan McMahon. For Herman, you can maybe get someone in the top 20, and that's nothing to sneeze at, because in a lot of other farm systems, a guy in their top 20 might end up being in your top 10.
Exactly. Yeah, so they got to be open to a lot of things with the trade deadline. You've got to be active, and we can hope, and it may depend on. This is a perfect segue, Evan. That could depend too on who's calling the shots as we right after the draft with Bill Schmidt, where again Bob Nightingale, you can always take everything with a grain of salt. Kind of alludes to like there's rumors around the league that Bill Schmidt will be reassigned after the draft. Well, they're focused on that, and then something else will happen. But it's the big question here of what happens with Bill Schmidt in the second half. We've already lost the manager, the team president. He's been replaced. Essentially, he's still there, but he's been replaced. They've changed coaching staff. We've seen a changing of the guard with players starting to happen. But there's still one big fish at the top of it all with Bill Schmidt right now. What happens with him in the GM role?
Yeah. And honestly, I wrote about this a little bit over at Purple Row, is Bill Schmidt, when he gives interviews, tends to undercut his own importance in this process, where almost everything he says is like, oh, we'll just do what's best for the team. We'll pick the best player available. Previous deadlines don't affect this one. Experience doesn't affect this one. And it's like, then why are you here?
Yeah.
And how much power do you actually have for this draft and for this deadline?
Yeah. It brings a lot of things into question of how much of an influence does he still have, and that could impact what happens with the draft and what's going on there. But I don't know. It's hard to know what is going to happen with him. Does he survive the second half of the season? That's probably the biggest question.
I think right now, so the rumor is that he's going to be reassigned to a different role after the trade deadline.
President of baseball ops.
Which is the most Rockies move of all time, because Skyler, as you and I have discussed, Bill Schmidt is not a quote-unquote GM in a traditional sense. He's not under contract as a GM. He is an officer of the Colorado Rockies baseball organization who is serving in the GM role.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just necessarily fire him as the GM. I mean, you could, but that's not something the Rockies are very likely to do. Where it's going to be very similar to Greg Fiesel of, oh, he's stepping down at the end of the season and we are moving this person in for the rest of this year, like they did with Walker Monfort. And that's what I expect to happen right now. But at the same time, I still don't understand why they couldn't have just ripped that bandage off. I know it's abnormal. As Ken Rosenthal pointed out, the last time a GM has been removed from duty before the deadline was in 2016 with the Minnesota Twins. But the Nationals just ripped that Band-Aid off for you, where it's not weird anymore. Somebody else did it.
Yeah, they did it right before the draft, too. And they have the number one pick. Yeah, so it's... You can rip that Band-Aid off at any point, and then it's really... You got to look for the outside sources, and so I think that's what it's going to look like for that second half of just wondering, okay, how much is Dick Monfort still willing to make changes and implement them? How much is Walker perhaps influence some of those decisions and stuff? But can the Rockies continue to just try to make changes? They need change, and that's probably what the whole second half is going to be about. Starting with the top, we've already seen it in the first half. But even more so, like you mentioned, after the deadline, what happens with Bill Schmidt, this second half of the season is going to look even more different. Perhaps this roster could look way different than it did opening day.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, something that fans are going to have to be prepared for is that the best case scenario for the Rockies is that this team is going to be significantly worse the rest of the way, because you've traded away most of your best players, most of your best options.
Yeah.
You're potentially not going to have one of the best defensive gloves at third base. You're potentially not going to have Herman starting every 5 days, or all reliable Jimmy Herget, who's been very good this season, not going to be here.
Yeah.
And potentially even more guys. And that's something that fans are going to have to be prepared for, is You thought it was bad already. It might get worse, and that's what you want to happen.
Yeah. Get those guys up. Before we end out this segment, Evan, speaking of that change, second half with a team in the Rockies situation usually means, okay, that means we're going to see other players get called up. Who do you think is most likely to get the call, to make his debut and just get the ball rolling?
If we're talking specifically debuts, I don't know if there's anybody left in AAA for that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I do think we see Zach Veen at some point again, if not after the break, then after the trade deadline. And after that, I don't know, honestly. I don't think the Rockies are going to want to rush anybody in that Hartford group, like your Kyle Karoses and stuff like that. So for right now, unless they get somebody who's close to MLB ready in the trade deadline, I think they're kind of done. And they've already had 9 debuts this season.
Mm-hmm. What about a potential... Well, I guess he's been dealing with injuries too. But like Gabriel Hughes seemed like the only other like pitching one that we're kind of waiting on, but he's been dealing with some injuries as of late. But it could still possible by the end of the season. Gets healthy and whatnot.
I think for Hughes, end of season is a reasonable expectation. He's about to potentially start a rehab assignment down in the Arizona complex, and then it's just going to be a lot of trying to get back up to speed with baseball in Albuquerque. But I do think we could see Gabriel Hughes by the end of the season.
Yeah,
your end of August, beginning of September call up.
Otherwise, it's waiting for Chase Dolander to come back, hopefully, and find some success. Zach Veen, like you mentioned, coming back. Drew Romo maybe gets a call at some point. Braxton Fulford, I'm sure, will be back. It's a lot of, okay, guys that will get a second opportunity that they haven't had before because you've just cleaned out some of the pipes with the...
My thoughts are, within the next month, Fulford, Dollander, Palmquist, and Veen will all be back on this roster.
There you go. We'll see. But, lots of change. But, speaking of big, probably one of the biggest changes, when we come back, we will talk about the Rockies' first-round draft pick at number 4th overall, and who it is they selected. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude. Skyler and Evan here. Thanks for sticking with us. We promised you draft talk. Evan, the Rockies made their selection 4th overall of the MLB player draft. And drumroll. And the Rockies, with the 4th pick, selected Ethan Holliday. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah, I don't think this is a surprise to pretty much anyone who's been following the Rockies over the last couple of weeks, couple months. It's been really no secret that Ethan Holliday was at the top of the Rockies draft board. What was a surprise, though, was the events leading up to the Rockies selecting Ethan Holliday, the big-bodied shortstop / third baseman out of Stillwater, Oklahoma. Ethan Holliday is the number 1 overall draft prospect on the board per MLB Pipeline, and was projected to go into the top 4, along with a multitude of other players. The Washington Nationals had the first overall pick and chose to go under slot with Fort Cobb Braxton shortstop Eli Willits. Okay, well then, surely one of the other teams is going to take Holliday if they are not. Though, granted, I was always under the assumption that if the Nationals did not take Holliday, that he was going to fall to the Rockies. But then the Los Angeles Angels also selected under slot, going with UC Santa Barbara pitcher
Tyler Berman.
Tyler Bremner. And that was also a surprise, and that left the Seattle Mariners free to take Cade Anderson, who had been mocked by a lot of teams to be going to either Washington or to Los Angeles. So Ethan Holliday, basically the pick that the Rockies wanted the entire time, falls straight into their laps.
Yeah, if they had the number 1 overall pick, if they've gotten that, this is probably who they would have gotten, Evan. Is that a fair assumption to make?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and so it worked out. I know they were really bummed about falling to 4th. in the draft. But this is kind of the thing that'll happen, Evan, because like you mentioned, these teams, they took guys under slot because of the bonus pool money. And Ethan Holliday, he's gonna garner a chunk of change from the Colorado Rockies, who seem more than willing to pay that price, to get this player. It kind of happened with Charlie Condon last year too, and it's just surprising that it worked out for them this way. This was like a no-brainer one, and coming in, Ethan Holliday probably the number one prospect available, just like Jackson. There was all the talk of the town that, okay, we're going to have two brothers go first overall. How cool is that going to be? For them, for Matt Holliday, their dad. But instead, it works out where, the three teams, I think this is where maybe it worked out for the Rockies too, Evan, where these are three teams who, don't necessarily have the money that they want to spend on that caliber of player in the draft. And so they're going to go underslot to maybe save some of that bonus pool money and spread it out more to get what they need instead of just one guy type of thing. So it worked out that those three were in front of the Rocks, and they're able to get their guy, which is cool. That's all those, the mock drafts. Like you say, Holliday kept falling to fourth to the Rockies. Like that was the talk. Like, yeah, he's probably going to fall there if he's available, and ends up he's available because the other teams were probably going to go pitching. I think Willits is the one that's the biggest surprise.
Yeah, especially when. He's got to be the most raw. He's the youngest first overall pick in draft history, and going under slot is definitely going to help with that. But there's a lot of development that needs to take place for a player that young. And that's not to say the Rockies don't have a long road ahead of them with Ethan Holliday, because the big thing with Ethan Holliday is he is, in my opinion, the best raw left-handed hitter in this draft. But raw is the key word here. He's 18 years old. He's got a gigantic frame already for someone his age. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. He's built like his dad. And the Rockies are paying $8.77 million approximately for his services. And this is a team that has not gotten a ton out of their first-round draft picks in recent history. And this needs to be a success for the Rockies. They need to do everything in their power to make sure that this kid develops even remotely similarly to like his dad, who ended up being a 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger, National League Championship Series MVP, and, in my opinion, probably should have gotten more votes for the Hall of Fame. Not necessarily a Hall of Famer, but I don't think
deserve more love.
I don't think deserved to fall off the ballot that quickly. But for Ethan, he's a very different player from his brother. Jackson Holliday is more of your prototypical middle infielder. He's long and rangy. He's quick. He's whippy. Ethan Holliday is a big player. And while he is being drafted as a shortstop, he is likely going to size out of the position. He, in my opinion, is a third baseman or left fielder. More likely third baseman, but that's honestly going to be a similar development path to his dad, where Matt Holliday was drafted as an infielder originally, and made that transition, became a third baseman, became a left fielder, spent most of his career in left field, and he's
probably should have stayed a third baseman.
He's got good defensive tools for third base. He's got good footwork. He's got a good throwing arm. He's got quality hands. He's just not necessarily going to end up being a shortstop when he's all done filling into his big frame.
Yeah, and that he's got a lot of those tools that you can mold, and you hope he can be resilient to maybe Rockies meddling in a sense of maybe bad tendencies that can creep in the development process, because he does have a strong support system behind him with his dad, his uncle, his brother. So he's got that infrastructure in place that can hopefully help in the development. Rockies kind of get an assist here in the development aspect of things, where then you hope between that and whatever the Rockies can help him with, that helps a player grow quickly and grow effectively, and more so on the latter part. Who cares if he grows quickly, but effectively and develops, where he can make an impact. Is he going to be in the big leagues in a year and a half like his brother? Maybe, but a lot has to go right on the Rockies' development side of things.
I would say probably not, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because with the Rockies where they're at right now, rushing his development isn't going to do anybody any good.
Yeah. And as we're recording this, it's in the middle of the draft, and they are talking to Ethan right now. So we'll watch that back later. But it's that the Rockies got the guy that they probably wanted all along. They had the number 1 pick. Yeah, they probably pick him. But now it worked out where they can get him 4th. And now hopefully this is a type of cornerstone player that you hope could buoy and be a part of your core of your next Generation R. You get him. Maybe you still have Tovar there at short. No, you figure out who's at second. Maybe it's Amador. Maybe it's Ritter. Maybe it's somebody else. And Noah Condon at first base. Like, you think of that infield, and you're like, it's a pretty dang good infield.
Yeah, and it is going to be tough. The big thing for Holliday is going to make sure that his hitting tools continue to develop. He's got a 50 graded hit tool and his 65 graded power, but he's also got the swing and miss issues that a lot of Rockies prospects have had. Especially against fastballs, which gives you flashbacks to guys like Zach Veen, especially this year. He's been making tweaks and mechanical adjustments, and it's going to be up to the Rockies to continue to figure out what needs to be done mechanically and training-wise to make things click.
Yeah.
He didn't have a great time in showcases in the spring and early summer, and a lot of that is because he is raw. He is a work in progress. He is a high school player. Yeah. And, high school players are always a gamble. They're just always going to be. And the Rockies haven't had a ton of success with high school players recently, honestly. But I think ultimately what's funny, just looking back at it, is we were all bemoaning what happened with the draft lottery, where despite being one of the worst teams in the league last year, the Rockies can't draft any better than 4th overall. They get that 4th overall pick. And they get the guy that they wanted, that they would have taken 1-1 for a good $3 million cheaper than he could have been if he was 1-1.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a guy hopefully then that you can build around even more, and you hope he has the impact like his dad did. And hopefully he maintains those luscious locks longer into his career than perhaps Matt did. But there's a lot of hopes here, and again, it's just, can Rocky's development, can the system help him grow and get the tools he needs to get to the big leagues and be effective? And like I mentioned, he has the support system in place too of his dad and his brother. He has that behind him that will help maybe take away some of that worry of, he goes home over the offseason and Matt sees what he's doing, like, no, like, don't do that. That's stupid.
Yeah. But ultimately, I love this pick. My understanding from both the Rockies draft board, my own research, is that the Rockies, pretty much anybody else that they would have taken this round would have only been if they couldn't get Ethan Holliday. And that's for a variety of reasons. It's one, he is legitimately that good of a prospect, that highly rated of a prospect. But two, he brings some name brand recognition immediately with a prospect that you don't normally get. Of Rockies fans aren't going to necessarily know your Charlie Condons or your Zach Veens right off the bat when they're drafted. They're going to recognize the name Holliday. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that Patrick Saunders wrote an awesome little article over at the Denver Post, I believe it came out this morning, where it was like, ultimately the Rockies couldn't make this decision based on the name and the sentimentality of it. It had to be a baseball decision. And now it's kind of, you get your cake and you eat it too, where, you get the nice sentimentality of, the bloodline, memories of 2007, the Rockies' favorite season in history that they never stop talking about. In fact, it's the only thing they ever talk about. But Matt Holliday was a big part of that. And we know what Matt Holliday did in his career. 316 career homers, 130 of them with the Rockies. He was only here for 6 years, but dude did some damage and was a keynote, a big part of the Generation R, that transition of them to that World Series title. And unfortunately, he just kind of got, because of money, he just couldn't stick around. Rockies couldn't figure it out with him. because of the weird stuff with an extension, the way they viewed it and whatnot.
Yeah, and ultimately, though, that ended up working out okay for the Rockies, too, because they got Carlos Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Where, and there was never really any ill will between the Rockies and Matt Holliday. It was, hey, we can't figure out an extension, so we're going to deal you. He ended up not loving being sent to Oakland, but
he wasn't there for very long.
and it never, he was still willing to come back for the final season in his career.
Yeah.
And remain on good terms with the team. And I think that means a lot as well. But like you said, it's not just sentimentality. It's Ethan Holliday is a darn good high school baseball player. And if the Rockies can develop him properly, and I know that is a big if, he can be a darn good major leaguer.
Yeah. No. I always wonder, Evan, like, I know they go to pro ball and whatnot, and they usually do fine. Like, what if they could just, like, go play a season of college baseball after they get drafted in high school? Type of thing. Just so they get that experience and a little bit. It's just a dumb thing. But
like how the NHL does it?
Yeah, type of thing. But, you just hope that he has the good head on his shoulders. He's got the pedigree behind him. And so he's got that support system. You just hope it translates to success. The Rockies desperately need a win, especially with this draft pick and this draft in general, but specifically with Ethan Holliday. And I hate to put all that weight on this young kid's shoulders, but he's a big boy. He can handle it. He's big, broad like his dad. Probably doesn't have the forearms, the tree trunks of forearms yet.
What's crazy is we've all been talking over the last couple weeks about how big Yanquiel Fernandez is.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan Holliday is bigger.
Ooh, he's a big boy.
And the Rockies love their big boys. They got a lot of tall cups of water out there.
Yeah. So you just hope some of those weaknesses will go away, or that they can manage better, because you can't just hope. The high fastballs. No, and I was reading some of that other stuff where it was maybe part of compensating because he was getting so much off-speed stuff. So when he was seeing fastballs, he was maybe a little too jumpy on them and whatnot. But that's something that he's going to keep working on. This, I think, even talking to some people and we hear in other interviews, and they had a nice little video from Jackson where it's like everybody's seen the potential that Jackson Holliday had, the pedigree with him, and a good ball player. The fact that people are saying, no, Ethan's even better. Like, the prospect of that is what gets you excited. Like, Rockies fans need to win, and I think there's a lot to get excited about with Ethan Holliday. Between the name and just the caliber of player that he is and could be, there's a lot to hope on. It's just what comes next. That's what's going to... No, we'll see. No, does he start this season? Do they throw him out to low A Fresno, or does he just finish out in some complex league stuff? Who knows?
The big thing, I think, for me, for Ethan, is I want to see him drawing walks often and early in his professional career.
Yeah. Show off that eye tool, show off that vision tool, and where it can get him.
Because I think we've talked about it so many times. You can compensate for striking out, which he's probably going to do. He's a power hitter. There's just strikeouts in part of that game. But if you can compensate it like that, then you are in business. And I am really excited to see. And like I've already said, this is all going to fall onto the Rockies needing to do everything in their power to get player development right from here on out. Something that they have struggled with as an organization over the last decade, honestly. That needs to change. That needs to be a dedicated commitment to not just Ethan Holliday, but to everyone else that they draft in this draft, of allocating all the resources necessary to improving how they develop their players.
Yeah, absolutely. And we said this one has to be a win because they can't pick higher than 10th. Just like the Chicago White Sox, who just had their draft pick, Billy Carlson, a shortstop from Corona High School. Worst record in baseball last year. They couldn't pick higher than 10th.
Yep. And
that's where the Rockies will be next year. So they needed to win this year, and I think they got it right. They got their guy. Now let's see the goods on both ends. It's not just on Ethan. He's got the goods. Now it's time for him to prove it. But the Rockies have to show us the money, show us the goods, make good on those promises that you can be a draft and develop organization.
Yep.
Because history has said otherwise. With this.
Mm-hmm. You got 20 other players too to draft to draft today and tomorrow.
Exactly. And stay tuned. Later this week, hopefully we'll get our big draft recap episode. Maybe it'll be live. Maybe it won't be. Stay tuned to the social medias of Evan. Where can the folks find us on social media as we close out this episode?
You can find me on Blue Sky at evanlang27.bsky.social. I would love to hear from you. You can also catch me over on www.purplerow.com, writing the Monday Rock Pile and Weekly Pebble Report on Tuesdays. Going to be a little bit different this week. We are doing our State of the Position 2.0 series in place of regular Rock Piles this week, as we go into the second half and evaluate just how much things have gone weird this season at every position group, in the front office, in the coaches. So look forward to that. Regular content will resume next week. Remember that you can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite podcasting platforms of choice. That can be Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or catch the video version on YouTube.com. Remember that you can also find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite that too, on all of your favorite social media platforms at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop.
Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter at Skyler Timmons or on Blue Sky at STimmons13, WSKY.social. And then writing Wednesday Rock Piles, normally over at purplerow.com, and well as writing stuff over at FFSN.com. It's the Fans First Sports Network. And you can go check out all the other podcasts and articles that are written there as well over on that website. But you can just go read mine too if you just want to.
Yeah, and also our podcast first, please.
Yeah, listen to ours first.
Listen to us first. Once you finish the episode for the week, once, twice, 3 times, 5 times, have it running in the background constantly, then you can go check out some of the other quality content that Fans First Sports Network has to offer.
Yeah, but awesome stuff, exciting. Enjoy your All-Star breaks, and we'll be right back to the grind covering Rockies baseball after this week.
Goody.
Strap in, everybody. There's a lot to go. We'll get through it together. But until next time, I'm Skyler Timmons, along with Evan Lang. This has been Affected by Altitude. Evan, hit him with it.
Farewell.
This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.